She's been talking for 11 minutes and I haven't said a word. Sloane is standing in the kitchen doorway in a silk robe, mascara tracking twin lines down her cheeks, voice pitched to the frequency she uses when she needs me to feel responsible for something. The open plan house throws every syllable back at us. Nowhere to hide. That was the selling point when we bought it. Mid-century glass and cedar, the realtor said. A marriage in architectural form. You're cold, she says. You've been cold for months. You're gone, Harlan. And I'm standing right here asking you to be present, and you look at me like I'm a stranger. Here's the thing about being looked at like a stranger. Sometimes it's because you've become one. I let her finish, every word. She covers the usual ground. My silences, my absences, the way I've been watching her without watching her. She's not wrong about any of it. That's almost funny, in the specific way that nothing about this is funny. When she runs out of sentences, I pick up my phone from the counter and set it screen up between us. 41 times, Sloane. My voice comes out level. Quieter than I intended, actually. January through March. I've been counting since the snow. She looks at the screen. The Find My log is open. Her purse's AirTag, a blue thread of timestamps, 41 of them, all clustering at the same address in Silver Lake, Donovan Vance's recording studio. I know the address because I looked it up the first time in January, when the timestamp landed there at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and she'd told me she was at Petra's. The color leaves her face in a specific order. Cheeks first, then lips. Those are, she starts. Sessions, I say. I know, I'll play you the one from Valentine's Day. The one where you told me you were with Petra. I tap the screen. I have the audio from the studio parking structure. My friend Dez runs the stunt coordination on Donovan's music videos. He's been very helpful. She reaches for the phone. I move it. Not fast, just move it. The way you'd move something fragile away from a child who doesn't understand what it is yet. Harlan. She says my name the way she used to, soft and two-syllabled, the way that used to rearrange something in my chest. I pick up my keys. I'm going to Quince. When I come back, I'll need you to have a lawyer. She throws a glass. It hits the cabinet above the sink, a clean crack, and the pieces scatter across the tile. I don't turn around. The front door closes behind me. I don't hear the glass stop spinning. I'm already in the car, already dialing Quint, already thinking about the morals clause I found in Donovan Vance's label contract 6 weeks ago. The one I've been waiting to use like a key I cut before anyone knew I'd found the lock. Quint picks up on the second ring. How'd she take it, he asks. She threw a glass. Expensive one? Wedding gift. A pause. Fitting, Quint says. Come over. I back out of the driveway. The house is lit up behind me, every window glowing. A marriage in architectural form. Open plan, nowhere to hide. I drive. Quint's home office in Pasadena smells like coffee and consequence. Books floor to ceiling, dual monitors, a whiteboard with what looks like a corporate architecture diagram that he's been building for 6 weeks. He pours me a coffee I don't touch and spreads the dossier across his desk in sections, the way a surgeon lays out instruments. Walk me through it, I say. He does. Donovan Vance's label holding company is structured through 3 LLCs, one of which carries the original partnership agreement from 2019. The morals clause is in Section 14, subsection C, personal conduct inconsistent with the values and commercial reputation of the partnership. Quint taps the page. Here's what makes it beautiful, he says. He has the dry delivery of a man who has spent 20 years finding money people thought was hidden. 2 prior violations. Both documented. Neither reported to the board. One is a DUI that was settled quietly in 2021. The other is a breach of an NDA with a former background vocalist. I have the original filing and the settlement amount. The board doesn't know about either. The board, Quint says, has been operating under the impression that Donovan Vance is a man of selective but genuine character. That impression is about to undergo revision. I look at the diagram. 14 months of parallel tracking. Not just the AirTag data, but industry sources, Dez's account of the video set logistics, and a forensic copy of Sloane's deleted iCloud backup from the iPad she forgot I still had access to. She changed her phone password in November. She forgot about the iPad in February of last year. People in glass houses, etc. She thought I didn't know, I say. She thought I was just an actor who did his own stunts and came home tired. Quint looks at me over his reading glasses. You are an actor who does his own stunts and comes home tired. I also spent 14 months building a 214-page dossier on my wife's affair partner's corporate vulnerabilities. Right. He refills his own coffee. The stunt thing was always the cover story. Here's what Sloane never understood about me. I do my own stunts because preparation is the only thing that stands between a person and catastrophic injury. You map the fall before you take it. You know every exit before you enter the room. You don't improvise the dangerous parts. You rehearse them until they're not dangerous anymore. I do my own stunts, Quint. I've always known how to prepare for impact. He nods like I've said something obvious. That's one of the things I've always liked about my brother. We're going over Vesper Crane's simultaneous strike sequence. She'd laid it out across her conference table 2 weeks ago. The fluorescent hum of the Century City firm at 9 a.m. Surrounding us, her coffee untouched, when my phone rings. Portland area code. Delia. I step into the hallway. Hey, Bug. Her voice is careful, bruised at the edges. Dad, I need to tell you something. A pause. I found Donovan's name in Mom's phone 4 months ago. I was helping her look for a restaurant reservation, and I saw the thread, and I didn't say anything. I kept thinking if I said it out loud, it would be real. Something cracks in my chest that I don't name. It sits there, this unnamed thing, while I listen to my daughter breathe. I'm sorry, she says. I should have. Delia, stop. I keep my voice steady. None of this is your stone to carry. You understand me? Not one piece of it. But if I'd told you, then I'd have known 4 months earlier. The outcome is the same. I lean against the hallway wall. It was already real. It was real before you saw it. That's not on you. She's quiet for a moment. Then, are you okay? I'm at Quint's. We're working. Of course you are. A small sound that might be a laugh. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Bug. Get some sleep. I stand in Quint's hallway for a moment after I hang up. The unnamed thing in my chest does whatever it does. I don't examine it. I go back into the office. Delia knew, I say. Quint looks up. For how long? 4 months. He sets down his pen. That's a lot for a 22-year-old to carry. Yeah, I sit down. She's coming to see me next week. I'll handle it. He nods. Vesper wants to know if you're still committed to the simultaneous filing. Wednesday. Wednesday, I confirm. He's about to say something else when he glances at his phone. Random thing. A colleague used singletune.com after his divorce. Values-based matching, not photos. Said the assessment told him more about himself than 3 years of therapy. I half hear it. I'm looking at the dossier. Values-based matching, I repeat, because Quint sometimes needs acknowledgement to continue. No, not photos. What you actually believe? He shrugs. Just mentioning it, not now. Later. I nod. File it somewhere I don't examine yet. At midnight, I'm driving back from Quint's on Cahuenga when it happens. The car comes through the red at full speed. No brakes, no hesitation. The headlights sweeping across my windshield half a second before impact. My hands move before my brain does. Hard left, 2 wheels lifting, the other car's passenger side shearing my mirror clean off the door. And then it's gone. Vanished south on Cahuenga, like it was never there. I sit in the intersection. Rain smell through the cracked window. The city is quiet at this hour in the way cities pretend to be quiet. A performance of stillness over constant motion. My hands are on the wheel. I look at them. Steady. That tells me something about where I am now. Not where I was 6 weeks ago. When I first pulled up the AirTag log and sat in the same car, in the same rain smell, for 20 minutes before I could make myself drive. The hands were not steady then. The hands were doing something that had nothing to do with driving. Now they're steady. That's not nothing. Quint sends me the final index at 2:47 a.m. 214 pages, tabbed, cross-referenced, ready. I read the morals clause language one more time. Personal conduct that materially undermines the reputation or commercial viability of the partnership. Donovan Vance has been conducting himself that way for 14 months. I've been documenting it for 14 months. The only difference between us is that I kept records. I set the phone face down on Quint's guest room nightstand. The wet paper of the dossier's cover page sits on the desk, ink slightly smeared at the signature line where Quint initialed the final tab. I look at it for a moment. Then I turn off the light. Wednesday starts at 9:47 a.m. Quint texts, running. I'm in my car on Fountain when it comes through. I don't drive to the firm. I don't go anywhere near the marble lobby of Sloan's PR company in West Hollywood. I just drive, because some things you don't need to witness to know they're happening. The process server is a retired LAPD detective named Fogarty, who charges twice the standard rate and has the energy of a man who has seen every possible human reaction to being handed an envelope. He tells me later that Sloan was mid-sentence on a call when he approached her, that the receptionist was watching, that Sloan stood there for a full 10 seconds holding the envelope before she understood what it was. Her call comes at 10:04. I watch it ring. The voicemail notification appears. I play it once in the car, the volume low. She covers the full range, disbelief to fury to something that sounds like genuine grief. In that order, in about 90 seconds. She's very good at emotional sequencing. She always has been. It's what makes her excellent at PR. I delete the voicemail. Vesper files the morals clause violation with Donovan's label board at 10:15. Both prior violations included. Des named as industry witness. The board calls an emergency session by 10:30. I know this because Vesper texts me a single word. Convened. Donovan's publicist quits by text before noon. I'm in the parking structure of my gym when Donovan finds me. I hear him before I see him. His footsteps have the specific cadence of someone who has decided to be physical about something and is still deciding how physical. I've heard that cadence before, usually right before a stunt goes wrong. He comes around the rear of my car. He's wearing a gray hoodie and the expression of a man whose entire professional architecture is collapsing and who has decided that this is somehow my fault. You want to do this here? I say. I don't move. I've taken hits from guys who get paid to hit people. You're a man who plays guitar. He swings. It's a real swing. He means it. But Donovan Vance has never had to hit anything that hit back. My stunt reflex moves me left before I've consciously decided to move left, and his fist finds the concrete pillar behind me. The sound is specific. So is the way his face changes. He cradles his hand. His knuckles are bleeding. I pick up my gym bag from the trunk. Get that looked at, I say. You've got a label board meeting in 40 minutes. I walk to the elevator. Behind me, I hear him say my name once, then stop. I don't turn around. The elevator smells like rubber and recycled air. I notice, for one absurd second, that someone has taped a motivational quote to the wall above the button panel. Every day is a fresh start. The font is cheerful. I think at least one of us is inspired. Then the doors open and I walk to the locker room and I do not think about it again. Calloway Briggs has been on the fence since February. I know this because Calloway is the kind of man whose fence sitting is visible from a distance. He gets quieter at dinners. He answers texts in 3 words instead of 7. He finds reasons not to be in the same room as certain people. I've watched him shrink himself for months. He finds me at the Chateau Marmont bar at 4 p.m. The bar is dim and expensive and full of people performing versions of themselves. Calloway looks like a man who has finally stopped performing. He puts his phone on the table between us. On the screen is a thread, Petra and Sloan, 4 specific nights, 4 fabricated alibis. Petra's own words. Tell him you and I had dinner. I'll cover if he asks. And then she did. She sat across from me at my own kitchen table and told me Sloan was with her on January 14th, and she laughed at the wrong moment. Too fast, too short, and I filed it. I can't stay quiet anymore, Harlan, Calloway says. His hands are flat on the table. I've been carrying this since February. I order him a drink. He looks surprised by that. You chose right, I say. Late, but right. I screenshot the thread. Then I dial Petra. She picks up on the third ring. I can hear road noise. She's in her car. Petra, I say, I'm going to ask you one question. You're going to answer it honestly, or I'm going to forward this thread to Marta right now. I let that land. Did you lie to my face about Sloane's whereabouts on January 14th? Silence then. Harlan, please. I forward the thread to Marta before she finishes the sentence. Petra says my name 3 more times. I end the call. Calloway's watching me. That was fast, he says. She was going to ask me to be reasonable, I say. I've been reasonable for 14 months. I'm done with reasonable. Marta Aldis calls me 40 minutes later. She's an architect. She designs structures for a living. She understands load-bearing walls and what happens when you remove them. Her voice when she calls is the voice of someone who has just had a load-bearing wall removed. She doesn't cry. She just says, "What do you need from me?" I tell her, a written statement confirming Petra's pattern of cover. She emails it to Vesper within the hour. I'm still at the bar when Vesper calls. She's walking somewhere. I can hear her heels on what sounds like marble. 2 entertainment outlets have the board story, she says. My contact at the second one is running it tonight. Donovan's suspension will be public by morning. Good. Sloane's checked into a hotel, not the chateau. I know which one. A pause. Of course you do. I'm not going to use it, I say. I didn't think you were. Another pause. My sister used singletune.com after her divorce. Said the values questions were the first honest conversation she'd had in years. With herself, I mean. The app just asked the questions. I look at my drink. What kind of questions? What you'd do if you were wrong about something important. What you actually believe about people. Whether you think people change. She goes back to walking. Anyway, I'll send the board update tonight. I sit with that for a moment. What I'd do if I were wrong about something important. I think I'd document it. I'd build the file. I'd wait until I was certain. Then I think, that's not what the question is asking. I go back to my drink. By 6 p.m., 2 entertainment outlets have the story. By 8, Donovan's label has suspended his contract pending review. Sloane checks into a hotel, not the chateau, somewhere quieter, somewhere no one knows her name. I know the hotel. I know the room number. I don't use that information. I just know that I have it, and I understand, for the first time, the specific weight of knowing something you've chosen not to use. It's heavier than using it. That's the part nobody tells you. The thing about Sloane's hotel spiral is that it produces evidence she doesn't intend to produce. She calls Donovan from the room at 11 p.m. I piece this together later from what Donovan says and what Sloane forwards without understanding what she's forwarding. He's panicked about the board. He says things in that call that are specific and damaging and that she records because she wants to have something to hold over him, some proof that he was as complicit as she was. She sends the audio to me at 11:47 p.m. with a message that says only, "He's lying about everything." I listen to the audio. Donovan's voice is smaller than I expected. He says her name the way she used to say mine, soft, two-syllabled, the way you say something you're trying not to lose. He also says, very specifically, that he told her in October that the studio visits needed to stop because the board was starting to ask questions about his schedule. He says this in the past tense, which means he knew the risk, which means he calculated it and continued anyway. I forward the audio to Vesper. Then I hear what Sloane does to the hotel room. I don't hear it directly. The hotel calls me at 12:30 a.m. because I'm still listed as her emergency contact. I can hear in the background of the call the specific sound of something framed being removed from a wall. The desk manager's voice is carefully neutral. I give them Vesper's number. Sloane is admitted to a treatment facility the next morning. Not by force, by the specific exhaustion of a person who has run out of cover stories. When every alibi is gone, when every narrative has collapsed, when the architecture you've built around yourself has been systematically dismantled, you either find a new story or you stop performing for a while. She stops performing. I don't feel what I expected to feel about that. I feel something quieter, something that has more to do with a 22-year marriage than with the last 14 months of it. I don't examine it too closely. I just note it, the way you note a change in weather. At 11 p.m., I'm parked outside Donovan's Silver Lake studio. The lights are on inside. Someone is playing back a track. I can feel the bass through the seat of my car, a low pulse, like a building with a heartbeat. I have a burner phone on the passenger seat. I have a contact in my recent calls, a name I'm not going to write down, who works in digital distribution infrastructure and who told me 6 weeks ago that certain albums could be made to disappear from every streaming platform through means he preferred not to specify. I hold the phone. The bass continues. The studio lights are warm. Somewhere inside, Donovan Vance is listening to music he made, and he doesn't know I'm parked outside, and he doesn't know what I'm holding, and he doesn't know how close he is to a different version of this story. I hold the phone for 11 minutes. I know it's 11 because I watch the clock on the dashboard. 11:02, 11:06, 11:09, 11:13. I set the phone on the passenger seat. I drive away. Here's what I need to say about that, because I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. I know what I almost did. I sat outside that studio with a burner phone and a contact who could have ended Donovan Vance's album before it existed, through means that were not legal and not clean and not the kind of thing I'd be able to look at Delia and deny. I held that phone for 11 minutes, and I felt, for most of those 11 minutes, that I was completely justified. I'm not pretending I didn't almost do it. I'm not pretending the justification didn't feel real. The difference between me and Donovan isn't that I'm better. It's that I stopped. That's a smaller difference than I'd like, but it's the one I have. I set the phone on the passenger seat. I drove away. The studio lights stayed on. That's the whole story of that night. Delia flies in 2 days later. We eat at a diner in Silver Lake, the kind of place with laminated menus and booths, with tape over the cracks and coffee that arrives before you ask. The waitress already pouring. Delia orders eggs. I order coffee. I actually drink this time. The diner smells like butter and old carpet and something faintly sweet that I can't identify. She looks like her mother in certain lights. In other lights, she looks like me. Right now in the diner light, she looks like herself, which is something different from both of us. I'm seeing a therapist, she says, in Portland. She's good. She asks the right questions. Good questions are hard to find, I say. Delia stirs her coffee. She has a habit of stirring things she's not planning to drink, just the motion, the small circular work of it. Dad, the burner phone. I look up. You told me on the phone last night, she says. You were half asleep. You said you'd been outside the studio. I don't remember saying it, but I believe her. I didn't dial it, I say. I know. She keeps stirring. But you held it for 11 minutes. Yeah, that's the part I keep thinking about. She looks at me. Not that you had it, that you put it down. I think about what Vesper said. What would you do if you were wrong about something important? I put it down, I say. That's the part that matters. It's not nothing, Delia says. Putting it down when you don't have to, that's not nothing. We eat. The waitress refills without asking. Outside, Silver Lake does its late morning thing. Cyclists, dog walkers, a woman arguing on the phone while eating a breakfast burrito. The ordinary machinery of a city that doesn't know or care what any of us have been through. When you're ready, Delia says, you should think about what you actually want. Not what you're done with, what you want. I think about Quint's offhand comment. Values-based matching, not photos. What you actually believe. Someone mentioned an app, I say. Single tune. Values-based matching. Delia looks up. Calloway was telling me about that. He said the assessment was... He said it asked him things he hadn't asked himself. What kind of things? What you'd do if you discovered you'd been wrong about something important. She pauses. He said he sat with the question for 2 days before he answered it. I think about the 11 minutes outside the studio, about the glass spinning on the tile, about Delia's voice from Portland, careful and bruised, about the 214-page dossier and the morals clause, and the specific weight of knowing something you've chosen not to use. I'd sit with it, I say, until I understood it. Delia nods. That sounds right. My phone buzzes. Donovan Vance's name in my contacts, calling. I look at it for a moment. Delia watches me. I answer. His voice is smaller than it was in the parking structure. Smaller than it was in the audio, Sloan forwarded. He sounds like a man calling from the bottom of something. What do you want? He asks. The question is supposed to be a negotiation opener. It comes out like a concession. I already have it, I say. I hang up. Delia's watching me with an expression I can't quite read. Then she goes back to her eggs. Vesper calls at 4 p.m. She reads the board's decision the way she reads everything, like a grocery list, each item equal in weight. None of them surprising. Contract terminated, effective immediately. The 2 prior violations are being referred to the partnership's legal team for potential clawback of advance payments. His publicist's departure has triggered a cascade. 2 brand partnerships dissolved quietly this afternoon. No statements. The album is delayed indefinitely. She pauses. His management team is meeting tomorrow. I expect at least one of them resigns. Okay, I say. You want me to feel something about this? She asks. No, I say. I want you to invoice me. A pause. Then something that might be a laugh, quickly suppressed. I'll send it tonight. The call from Petra comes at 9 p.m. I'm in my car on Sunset, heading nowhere in particular. The rain smell coming through the cracked window again. Same storm, different man inside it. Or maybe not so different. Maybe just a man who put down a phone he shouldn't have been holding. Petra's voice is cracking. There's road noise, erratic. She's driving the way people drive when they're not thinking about driving. You did this, she says. You destroyed my life. Petra, my marriage, my business, You did this, Harlan. You took everything. My voice drops to almost nothing. Petra, you drove drunk to Marta's office last Tuesday. I have the parking garage footage. I didn't use it. A pause. Think about that before you call me again. Silence. Then the call ends. I find out the next morning that she rear-ended a car on Sunset 20 minutes after that call. Minor injuries, no one seriously hurt. The accident report names her. The entertainment press has it by 6 a.m. Her 2 anchor clients, a luxury hotel chain and a film festival, quietly terminate their contracts by end of day. I don't feel good about that. I want to be clear about that. Petra made her choices and the choices had consequences. And I am the person who put those consequences in motion. And I knew when I forwarded that thread to Marta that the thread would have weight. I knew it would land on something. I'm not going to pretend I didn't know. Calloway texts me a link that night. Singletune.com, just the link. Then, whenever you're ready. Not now, just whenever. I screenshot it. Don't open it. But I screenshot it. I sit in the dark for a while. Delia asleep on my couch, my phone face down on the coffee table. A Google alert comes through on Donovan Vance. The headline is 6 words. I read them twice. I set the phone face down again. Not celebrating, not grieving, just sitting with the specific silence of a thing that is finally completely done. The Laurel Canyon house is the same house. That's the thing about mid-century glass and cedar. It doesn't register what happened inside it. The windows are still the same windows. The kitchen tile is the same tile. Someone has swept up the glass, or Sloan swept it up before she left. And there's no evidence of the night I walked out, except for a small chip in the cabinet above the sink where the glass hit. I'm there to collect my remaining things. 2 boxes, a garment bag, the framed photo of Delia at her college graduation that I want to keep somewhere she can see it when she visits. Sloan is there. She's out of the facility. A week, they said, was enough to stabilize. She looks quieter than I've ever seen her. Hollowed in a specific way, like a house after a fire where the structure is intact, but everything inside has changed. She's wearing jeans and a gray sweater and no makeup, and she looks, for the first time in a long time, like a person instead of a presentation. She doesn't scream. She watches me move through the house, collecting things, and she doesn't say anything for a long time. Then, why were you so distant? I stop. I set down the garment bag. I look at her. She looked at me and asked, why are you so distant? I say it quietly, almost to myself, the way you'd repeat a question you've been asked before. I smirked. I do, just slightly. It's easy. A wife with a lover has no husband. She flinches, not from anger, from recognition. I pick up the garment bag. I pick up the boxes. I carry them to the car in 2 trips. She stands in the kitchen doorway, the same open plan, nowhere to hide, and she watches me. She doesn't throw anything this time. That's almost worse. On the second trip, I pause at the front door, not to say anything, just the pause you take before a thing is completely finished, the breath before the last sentence. Then I close the door. It's a Tuesday morning. Rain from the night before is still on the windshield, not falling anymore, just sitting there in drops that catch the early light. I put the car in reverse. Sloane comes out of the house. She's in the driveway now. Gray sweater, bare feet on the wet asphalt, hands at her sides. She's not calling my name. She's just standing there, watching. The way you watch something you understand, you can't stop. I don't watch her disappear in the rear view. I just drive. Same rain smell through the cracked window, different weight to the silence inside the car. I drive north on Laurel Canyon Boulevard. The city is doing its morning thing. The light is that particular Los Angeles early Tuesday light that looks like a fresh start, whether or not you want one. I drive. 6 weeks later, Los Feliz. Late morning, a coffee shop on Vermont that has good light, and tables that wobble slightly, and a menu written on a chalkboard in handwriting that changes weekly. Calloway's already there when I arrive. He's with a woman I don't know. Early 40s, dark hair, wearing a canvas jacket with paint on the cuff that she either doesn't notice or doesn't mind. She has the quality of someone who is paying attention to things other people aren't paying attention to. Harlan Voss, Calloway says, standing. Ren Adler. Ren Adler shakes my hand. Her grip is direct. I know who you are, she says. Calloway's told me some things. I'm not going to pretend he hasn't. What things? I ask. That you're careful, she says. And that you're done with careful, which is different from being reckless. I sit down. The coffee arrives. Ren is a documentary filmmaker. She's been working on a piece about the music industry's contract practices, specifically the way morals clauses are selectively enforced depending on who has the leverage. She's been following the Donovan Vance story because it's one of the cleaner examples she's found of the clause being used the way it was intended. I'm not looking for an interview, she says right away, like she's anticipated the question. Calloway said you might want to talk to someone who's been paying attention to the same thing from a different angle. What angle? I ask. The angle of what happens when the institution protects itself instead of the people inside it. She wraps both hands around her coffee cup. I've been making this film for 2 years. I've talked to 43 people. Almost all of them said the same thing. They didn't know the clause existed until they needed it. And then they found out it only works if you've done the work in advance. You have to cut the key before you find the lock, I say. She looks at me. Exactly. We talk for 40 minutes about her film, about the specific architecture of entertainment contracts, about a case she's documenting in Nashville that has structural similarities to what happened here. She's precise. She asks questions that assume you've thought about things, and then listens to the answers like the answers matter. At some point, Calloway excuses himself to take a call. It's the kind of excusing himself that is not entirely accidental. Ren watches him go. He's not subtle, she says. No, I agree. She laughs. It's a real laugh. Not the kind that arrives before the punchline, but the kind that arrives because something is genuinely funny. I found Calloway through Singletune.com, she says. We matched on 3 core values. He told me about it after the 3rd time we'd had coffee, and I asked him how he'd ended up with such a specific group of people in his life. She tilts her head. The assessment asked me what I'd do if I discovered I'd been wrong about something important. There it is again. That question. What did you say? I ask. I said I'd sit with it until I understood it. She looks at me. Calloway said the same thing, word for word. That's when the algorithm matched us. A pause. He said you'd know the question. I look at my coffee. The rain smell is gone today. The air's dry and clear, the kind of Los Angeles morning that feels like a reward for something you didn't know you'd earned. What would you say? She asks. I think about the burner phone, the 11 minutes, the glass spinning on the tile, the 2 14 pages tabbed and cross-referenced, Delia's voice from Portland, the specific weight of knowing something you've chosen not to use. I think about the key I cut before anyone knew I'd found the lock. About hands that were steady when they had no reason to be. About driving away from a house that used to be a marriage. Rain still on the windshield, a figure in the driveway getting smaller. I'd sit with it, I say, until I understood it, and then I'd figure out what I was going to do about it. I look at her. The sitting is the part most people skip. Ren Adler nods. She's paying attention to something in my face that I'm not aware of. Then she picks up her coffee. Calloway says you haven't opened the app yet, she says. No. You should, she says. Not for the matching. For the questions. She sets her cup down. Some of them are uncomfortable. The good ones always are. Calloway comes back. He sits down with the expression of a man who has been doing something completely unrelated to anything and is very committed to that story. Ren doesn't look at him. I don't either. But something in the air of the table has shifted. The way air shifts when a window opens, somewhere in a building you thought was sealed. I pick up my phone. I open the browser. I type in singletune.com. The assessment starts immediately. No photos, no location. The first question is, what do you believe about people who have hurt you? I sit with it. Outside, Los Feliz does its Tuesday morning thing. The light is good. The coffee's real. Ren is telling Calloway something about a shot she got in Nashville last month. And she's using her hands when she talks. And she laughs at the wrong moment, too fast, too short, and then catches herself and laughs again, correctly. And the second laugh is better than the first. I type my answer. I don't know yet what comes next, but I know how to prepare for impact. I know how to cut the key before I find the lock. I know that the sitting is the part most people skip, and that the putting down is the part that matters, and that the hands being steady is not nothing. I know all of that. The rest I'll figure out.